So another resource that you're going to be getting, and all these fabulous materials that you're going to get through this program, is you're going to get a book called STEAM Design Challenges, and they're specifically incorporated with your 5th grade standards. Now, some of you might already be a little frightened when you hear, oh wait, STEAM challenges might be something you haven't jumped into yet. But STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, art, and math. You may see a lot of resources out there that say STEM, but art is included in the word STEAM, referring to creative arts or even language arts. So your reading and your writing is incorporated there. What's wonderful about STEAM activities, especially the engineering style type activities, is that the kids are really engaged in groups, small groups. I usually like to work with 4 in a group, 3 in a group. Sometimes we work in partners, but 4 seems to work best. But they are really honing in on some skills like collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity. What's also fabulous about working with some STEAM type engineering activities is that there's no right or wrong way to do something. It's a lot of trial and error, and when they work in groups, they don't have to be afraid of a failure or, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do, because we're working in groups and they're talking, they're communicating, they're thinking together, they're designing and creating together. You have kids that are way more comfortable to try instead of thinking, oh no, I can't do this. So it's fabulous just to watch how they work together. Communication seems to be a skill nowadays that it's hard for them to know how to communicate kindly and efficiently with each other. So sometimes you have to talk them through, waiting turns and really valuing each other's thoughts and ideas. They also are working through what we call the engineering design process. And so we'll talk through that just a little bit as we get started. Well, one of the activities that I've chosen to talk about and to kind of give you a little instruction about, it goes really well with this landforms and oceans unit, is I can see clearly now, which is the activity. And basically their design challenge is that they are going to be challenged to work in a group and design and construct a water filter that will purify polluted water sample to make it clear enough so that they can read an eye chart through the clear water. Now your eye chart is in the back as one of the resources. So you have that there. It's already printed as a page of 4, so of course that helps to cut down on your copies. On the back side, it gives you the rubric on how do they even decide that the water's clear enough, that their water filter did an adequate job. And so it gives you a standard rating of 3, 2, and 1. 3, of course, being the most successful, the water being the most clear. Now, in this activity, of course, just like your regular lessons where you start off with some class discussion, or you're building background, or you're trying to get the kids excited about something, or just trying to get them interested or understanding the value of things. In the lesson, it suggests that in order to build a little bit of background and excitement, that you conduct a little bit of a demonstration here where you have to start your conversation with your class about this valuable resource of water, is getting them thinking about, well, how much water is on the earth, or how much of the earth is water. So if you take 100 milliliter beaker with blue water, of course, to represent the water on the earth, thinking about, well, how much of that water that's on earth is actually useful to us. Now, I think, of course, by the time they get to 5th grade, they know that they're not going to be drinking the water in the ocean because it is salt water. That's no use to us. So in order to show a visual of how much is salt water on earth and how much is fresh, you would just pour 3 milliliters of the 100 into another beaker, and that's pretty close there. So now we have like 97 milliliters of water here and only 3 here. That makes up the 100% of water that's on Earth. Now, this is to demonstrate that 97% of the water on Earth is salty water. And of course, all this class conversation you're going to have, helping them understand how valuable fresh water is that, well, this is really not usable to us because it's salt water. That's where all the oceans are. Only 3% of the water on Earth is fresh water. But think about everything on Earth that uses fresh water. Well, your plants, your animals, humans, but even this 3% water, that's not all of that is usable, because some of that 3% of water, fresh water, is in our glaciers and our polar ice caps. And so we can't really use that. And then if you factor in through your class conversation is that some of that fresh water is polluted. And then you can have some nice conversations about pollution, what causes pollution, what types of pollution, what things cause the water pollution. In fact, there's a fact here in your information, in your lesson, that says approximately 3.6 million people die from diseases related to water pollution each year. Now, that was a little bit of a startling fact to me, but that helps them to understand the purpose of this design challenge. And you know, we have kids all the time. You'll give them something to do and they're like, but why do we have to do this? Why is this important? So once you have established this little bit of background and some interest in our valuable resource of fresh water and understanding the importance of it, then you're going to begin helping them understand what their design challenge is. So there is a little dialogue or dilemma that you can use, and basically it's saying that there's a global competition for natural resources such as drinkable water. Now, just like electricity, most of our kids never ever think about the fact that, well, what would life be like without electricity, and what would life be like if we didn't have fresh water coming out of our faucets? The company Need Water Inc. is looking for ways to turn polluted water into safe drinking water to meet the ever-increasing demand for safe water. The Need Water Inc. company is looking for a filter that produces the best quality of drinking water. The company will award the team of engineers that builds the most successful filter with a 5% share of the company's stock. Your filter must purify 200 milliliters of polluted water, and the clarity of the water will be tested by how easy it is to read an eye chart through the water. Now, at this point, you would need to explain to the kids what types of materials do they have available for their team to design their water filter. Each team, whether you're working with small groups of 4 or 3, they're going to get a water bottle or any beverage bottle that's about 16 ounces would work great, but you have to cut the bottoms off of them. Now, I think our students, first of all, that's the first thing they're going to look at it and go, well, what good is a bottle when it has the bottom cut off of it? So that's going to be some interesting conversations that they will have. But then there are a variety of materials that you can use, such as coffee filters, paper towels. We have sand, cotton balls, marbles, different sizes of rocks and pebbles. If you have available aquarium charcoal, that would be great. Just because there's a list of materials listed in the lessons doesn't mean you have to stick with that. You may have other ideas and things that are available or maybe not available to you that you would like to use. The other item you're going to have already prepared is you're going to need some muddy water. So whether you're going to prepare it in buckets or small containers, whatever your situation is to distribute that, each team will need a bucket of, we're going to call it polluted water, but really it's just muddy water with a lot of sediments in it. Now, in our engineering process, one of the most valuable things is they have to have a conversation about the challenge. Like, what is it they're expected to do, and how are they going to use the materials and why? And one thing I always coach the kids when they're having their conversations, a lot of times they will say, well, I have an idea. Well, you've got to express your idea and explain why. Why do you think this is best? So that your teammates can buy into and understand your point of view. And therefore, usually they'll go along with you if you make a really good point that they can understand. I usually give the kids just plain notebook paper, so as they're having conversations, they can draw out their ideas, they can list their ideas, but this collaboration and communication components at this point, super important. Again, they're going to have to think about a couple of things. What materials do they need to use to put in this? And I think that one of the first things you're going to hear them say is, are they going to need to turn the bottle this way to put the materials in? Or are they going to put it this way to put the materials in? Because the question might be, will it matter what order they layer their filtering materials in? Now, I just still have the lid on here just because I think it just looks more like a bottle. But really, when you think about it, they're going to have their layered materials here. You're going to pour muddy water in, and then of course into a clear cup. And then they're going to have to take their filtered water and hold the eye chart on the other side of it and see if they can read any of the lines of letters, just like when you go to the eye doctor. Now, if you can read the smallest print, what does that prove? Well, that proves if you can read even the smallest print, you must obviously have very clear water, and you would give your rating then a 3, because that you were very successful the first time with being able to filter the water. In our process, our design process, once they have collaborated and they have a design and ideas on paper, and then they have put together or built or created, in this case, a water filter. They test it to see how well it works. But then in this process, they are constantly asking themselves, okay, here's our results. This is what happened. But now what can we modify? What can we change about this design to make it even better? I think and what I have seen in my classes is that because we are a society of instant gratification, most of our kids feel like, okay, I did what you said, I took it through the first test, hey, we're done. No, you keep thinking about how to modify it, how to make it better, and then you change something about your design and you conduct a second test. So getting the kids to understand, we keep trying and trying till we get it perfect. Now, not everything's perfect or can be perfect, but to make it better helps them to understand, to think more like an engineer. Because scientists and engineers don't get it right the first time. They have to keep trying until they can improve their design more and more. So I don't want you to be afraid of jumping into some engineering, design types of challenges with your kids, your engineering. Some other things that I think is great about this resource that you're getting is that it also has some literature connections listed for you. You're also hitting some of your targeted vocabulary such as aquifer. And then you also have some connections with technology, ELA, and the arts. So I hope that gives you just a little bit of a tidbit to encourage you, if you have not already jumped on the train with our educators in South Carolina of our STEAM engineering type challenges, that you just jump in there with us. Hope you enjoy it.